Hey everybody, welcome back to Eating with Evans. This week we're going to make a loaded baked potato salad that's going to be a great accompaniment to all of your barbecuing meals you're going to have this summer. To make this recipe we're going to need 2 pounds of red potatoes. I like to get organic for this. 8 ounces of mild cheddar cheese, 8 ounces of bacon, half a cup of mayo, 3/4 of a cup of sour cream, a 1/4 cup of green onion, and 2 or 3 tablespoons of fresh dill. As always, we'll be seasoning with kosher salt and freshly ground pepper. The first thing I'd like to start preparing is my bacon. I love to cook my bacon in the oven for between 30 and 45 minutes. After the first 20 minutes, I flip the bacon over so that the other side gets a chance to crisp up. And depending on your oven and how thick the bacon is, it'll take between 20 and 30 minutes on the first side and 30 and 45 minutes after the second side's done cooking. So the very first thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And now we're going to take the bacon out of this packaging and lay it out on a sheet pan. An optional step that I like to take is spraying my sheet pan with nonstick spray. By spraying the pan with nonstick spray, it'll help me be able to flip the bacon halfway through. If I didn't spray it, some areas of the bacon may stick to the pan. So it's like taking out a little insurance policy. Now that I've laid out all my bacon on an even layer on my sheet pan, I'm going to go put it in a 350 degree oven for 20 minutes and flip it halfway through. The next step of this recipe is to cut 2 pounds of red Bliss potatoes into bite-sized pieces. I've washed all these potatoes in my colander. Now I'm going to cut these potatoes in half. For most of these potatoes I'm going to cut each half into half, so I'll have 1/4 of the potato and then cut those into thirds. These potatoes are approximately 1 inch cubed, which is exactly the size we're looking for. Now I'm going to continue cutting all of my potatoes for this recipe. I've finished cutting my 2 pounds of red Bliss potatoes in about 1 inch cubes. The next step is to put these potatoes into a pot of boiling water. I like to make sure my water is pretty salty as I would have pasta. Generally, whenever you're cooking something starchy like pasta, rice, or potatoes, you really want to make sure that the water is salted so that some of the salt that's in the water can get into the potatoes and make sure they're seasoned throughout. So now I'm going to add these potatoes into my boiling water. At this point I've got my bacon cooking in the oven and I've got my potatoes boiling on the stove. In the meantime, I'd like to prepare the rest of my ingredients for my loaded baked potato salad. The first thing that I want to prepare is my green onion. I'd like to have about a 1/4 cup of these. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut the top off. As you can see, some of the tops of these are a little dry. So now that I've got these green onions cut to the same length, I'm just going to cut little discs. This is between a 1/4 cup and a 1/2 cup of green onions sliced. The next thing I would like to do is prepare about the same amount of dill, about a 1/4 cup. So what I'm going to do is cut it off from the top, and I'm just going to run my knife through this until it's finely chopped. I find this technique to be very effective in cutting herbs. So what I'm doing is I'm running my knife along the dill, and I'm just rocking my knife back and forth. And then I flip the herbs over and I just run my knife through it again. This is my 1/4 cup of finely chopped dill. The last thing that I want to focus on is the 2 things that I'm going to make the dressing out of, mayonnaise and sour cream. You can't have a loaded baked potato without sour cream, so we're going to do 3/4 of a cup of sour cream. To make sure that I'm getting an even scoop, I like to use the back of a butter knife to flatten it out. The other half of the dressing for this recipe is going to be mayonnaise. Here I've got a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. Now that this is done, the next thing that I need to do is grate my mild cheddar cheese. The next step of this recipe is to grate 8 ounces of mild cheddar cheese. Like I said last week, when you buy pre-shredded cheese, it has anti-caking agents, sometimes even cellulose, that help keep those shreds from binding together and kind of forming one giant clump in the bottom of the bag. So I really highly recommend grating your own mild cheddar cheese for this recipe. This is what my 8 ounces of mild cheddar cheese looks like after it's been grated. This is what the bacon looks like after it went in the oven for 20 minutes. And like I said before, depending on whether you get thin or thick cut bacon, you're going to have totally different results based off of how long it's going to take to cook in the oven. This bacon that I got happened to be thinner than what I normally get. This is just a standard bacon. So as you can tell, it's getting really crispy already. And what I'm seeing as I'm flipping this over is that this bacon is at the crisp level that I want it to be at already. Essentially, as I allow this bacon to cool on some paper towels, it's going to suck some of that grease out, and this is going to crisp right up nicely. So I'm just going to stop cooking it at this point. But remember, depending on your oven and how thick your bacon is, this may take upwards of 30 or 45 minutes. And this is what it looks like after I've laid out my strips of bacon on some paper towels. This is 2 layers thick of paper towel, just on a normal kitchen plate. And I'm just going to put one more layer on top to allow some of the grease to soak up into the paper towels out of the bacon. This is going to help it get super crispy so that when it's in the potato salad, you're going to have nice texture. Now that I've given my bacon the opportunity to cool down, it's cool to the touch, I'm going to take the bacon off of the paper towels and I'm going to cut it into bacon bits that we're going to mix into the potato salad. What we're looking for here is a little bit bigger than you would normally say like bacon bits for a salad would be. Going to be about 1/4 inch square for these bacon bits. You really want to have some nice chew to them so they add a good texture to the potato salad. And here's what the 8 ounces of bacon looks like after it's been cut into bacon bits. At this point, all we have to do is mix all of these ingredients in with our cooked potatoes. So what I've done here is I've cooked these red potatoes until they were just barely fork tender. I didn't want to cook these too far so that as I go to mix them around, they break all apart and it just becomes potato mush. But I also wanted to make sure these were done so that the potatoes weren't crispy as you were biting into the potato salad. The first things that I would like to incorporate into this mixture would be the sour cream and also the mayo. Now I'm going to stir this to combine to make sure that the sour cream and the mayonnaise is evenly distributed throughout all the potatoes. This may seem like it's a lot of liquid at this point, but remember we're going to add a lot of ingredients to this and it's going to distribute pretty well. So the next thing that I want to incorporate is the bacon bits and my shredded cheese, and I'm going to stir this to combine. What I'm doing to make sure that I'm not mushing these potatoes too much is I'm taking my rubber spatula, running it along the side, and just folding over the ingredients. And I'm doing that continuously. This is going to make sure that you don't break up the potatoes too much, so you don't end up with a potato mush. Now I'm going to add in my 1/4 cup of dill and the same amount of green onion. At this point I'm going to check for seasoning. This potato salad could definitely use some salt and some freshly ground pepper. Now that I've adjusted the potato salad for seasoning, I'm going to put this into a refrigerator for about an hour to allow the entire potato salad to cool down and let the flavors kind of jive together. And this is the final dish. This is a loaded baked potato salad. It's got all the fixings that you'd want for a baked potato. It's got shredded cheddar cheese, it's got crispy bacon, it's got sour cream, dill, and green onion. Make this recipe the next time you grill out and I guarantee it will not disappoint. Hey everybody. Hope you guys love that recipe for my creamy loaded baked potato salad as much as I do. If you did, be sure to hit the like button down below, and while you're down there, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, be sure to hit the bell icon so that every single time I put out a new video, you get a push notification to your phone. If you haven't already, check out my Instagram page here at Eating with Evans. This is where I post all the meals on a nightly basis that you wouldn't necessarily see here on my YouTube channel. Until next time. Do you like that potato salad? High five.